Comprehensive Guide to Omega-3 Fatty Acids. Part 1. Understanding the cardiovascular benefits of EPA and DHA. Omega-3 fatty acids are a family of essential polyunsaturated fats that are indispensable for human health. They are described as essential because the human body cannot manufacture them from other nutrients. They must therefore be obtained through the diet. Although omega-3 fats contribute to many aspects of health, including brain development, vision, and immune function, they are perhaps best known for their remarkable ability to protect the heart and blood vessels. Among the various omega-3 fatty acids, two stand out for their cardiovascular benefits: eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, DHA. These long-chain omega-3 fats are found mainly in oily fish and other marine organisms. They are far more than passive building blocks of cell membranes. They are biologically active compounds that influence inflammation, blood clotting, blood vessel function, heart rhythm, blood lipid metabolism, and many other processes that determine cardiovascular health. The scientific interest in omega-3 fatty acids began in earnest during the 1970s. Researchers studying the Inuit people of Greenland noticed something unexpected. Although their traditional diet was extremely rich in fat from fish, seals, and whales, they experienced far fewer heart attacks than people living in Europe and North America. At the time, conventional wisdom held that a high-fat diet inevitably increased the risk of heart disease. The Inuit appeared to be a striking exception. This observation sparked decades of intensive research into marine fats. Scientists eventually identified several different omega-3 fatty acids. Alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, is found in plant foods such as flaxseed, chia seed, and walnuts. Docosapentaenoic acid, DPA, EPA, and DHA are found primarily in marine foods. Although all belong to the omega-3 family, they differ considerably in their biological roles and health effects. The name omega-3 refers to the chemical structure of these fatty acids. Specifically, the final double bond in the carbon chain is located 3 carbon atoms away from the methyl end of the molecule. While this may sound like an obscure detail of organic chemistry, it has important biological consequences. The double bonds make the fatty acid chains flexible rather than rigid. When incorporated into cell membranes throughout the body, this flexibility allows the membranes to remain fluid, enabling cells to communicate efficiently with one another and respond appropriately to hormones, neurotransmitters, and immune signals. Because humans lack the enzymes needed to create omega-3 fatty acids from scratch, dietary intake is essential. Plant foods provide ALA, which the liver can convert into EPA and DHA through a series of enzyme-driven reactions known as the Sprecher pathway. This pathway involves repeated cycles of elongation and desaturation, during which additional carbon atoms are added and new double bonds are introduced into the fatty acid molecule. Unfortunately, this conversion process is remarkably inefficient. Under ideal conditions, fewer than 1 in 12 molecules of ALA are converted into EPA, while fewer than 1 in 25 are converted into DHA. The major bottleneck occurs at an enzyme known as DELTA6 desaturase, which is responsible for one of the earliest steps in the conversion process. This enzyme also processes omega-6 fatty acids, meaning that a diet excessively high in omega-6 vegetable oils can compete with and further reduce the conversion of ALA into the more biologically active EPA and DHA. Several other factors also influence conversion efficiency. Genetic variations in the FADS1 and FADS2 genes affect the activity of the enzymes involved. Aging generally reduces conversion efficiency, while women of childbearing age often convert ALA more effectively than men, probably because DHA is essential for fetal brain development. Deficiencies of nutrients such as zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6 may also impair the conversion process. For these reasons, relying solely on plant sources of ALA may not provide sufficient EPA and DHA to achieve optimal cardiovascular protection. Many nutrition scientists therefore recommend obtaining EPA and DHA directly from oily fish, seafood, or algae-derived supplements, particularly for individuals at increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Once EPA and DHA enter the body, they become incorporated into the membranes of virtually every cell. From there, they influence numerous biological processes that protect the cardiovascular system. One of their most important roles involves regulating inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is now recognized as a major contributor to atherosclerosis, the gradual narrowing and hardening of arteries that underlies most heart attacks and strokes. Cell membranes also contain an omega-6 fatty acid known as arachidonic acid. When inflammation occurs, arachidonic acid is converted into signaling molecules called eicosanoids, including prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Many of these compounds promote inflammation, blood clotting, and narrowing of blood vessels. EPA competes directly with arachidonic acid for the same enzymes. When EPA is available, it produces a different set of eicosanoids that are generally much less inflammatory. This shifts the body's inflammatory balance towards a less damaging state. Even more importantly, both EPA and DHA are converted into an entirely different family of compounds known as specialized pro-resolving mediators. These include resolvins, protectins, and merisins. Unlike anti-inflammatory drugs, which simply suppress inflammation, these molecules actively orchestrate the natural resolution of inflammation. They help immune cells remove damaged tissue and cellular debris, reduce the recruitment of inflammatory white blood cells, and stimulate tissue repair. Rather than merely switching inflammation off, they guide the body back to a healthy equilibrium. Omega-3 fatty acids also help maintain a stable heartbeat. Every heartbeat depends upon the carefully coordinated movement of sodium, calcium, and potassium ions across the membranes of heart muscle cells. EPA and DHA influence the behavior of these ion channels, making the electrical activity of the heart more stable. As a result, abnormal heart rhythms become less likely to develop. This stabilizing effect is particularly important because certain dangerous arrhythmias can lead to sudden cardiac death without warning. Studies have shown that individuals with higher tissue levels of EPA and DHA generally have a substantially lower risk of sudden cardiac death than those with low omega-3 status. Another major cardiovascular benefit is their ability to lower blood triglyceride levels. Triglycerides are the principal form of fat transported in the bloodstream. Elevated triglycerides increase the risk of cardiovascular disease and are commonly associated with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. When consumed in therapeutic amounts, generally at least 2 grams of EPA and DHA daily, omega-3 fatty acids reduce the liver's production of very low-density lipoprotein, VLDL, the particles responsible for transporting triglycerides through the circulation. At the same time, they increase the burning of fatty acids within the liver. Together, these actions can lower blood triglyceride concentrations by between 15 and 50%, depending on the individual's baseline levels. EPA and DHA also improve the health of the blood vessels themselves. They enhance endothelial function, allowing arteries to relax and dilate more effectively. This modestly lowers blood pressure and improves blood flow throughout the body. Omega-3 fatty acids also reduce the tendency of platelets to clump together, thereby decreasing the likelihood of unwanted blood clot formation. In addition, they help stabilize atherosclerotic plaques, making them less likely to rupture and trigger a heart attack or stroke. Taken together, these effects produce a comprehensive package of cardiovascular protection. Omega-3 fatty acids simultaneously reduce inflammation, improve blood vessel function, lower triglycerides, stabilize heart rhythm, and help prevent the progression of atherosclerosis. The clinical evidence supporting these benefits is substantial, although the results of individual studies have not always been identical. Differences in study design, dosage, the type of omega-3 used, participants' baseline health, and even the choice of placebo have all influenced outcomes. One of the most influential studies was the REDUCEIT trial, published in 2019. In this study, patients already taking statin medication but who continued to have elevated triglyceride levels received 4 grams daily of a highly purified EPA preparation known as icosapent ethyl. Compared with those receiving placebo, participants experienced a 25% reduction in major cardiovascular events, including cardiovascular death, heart attack, and stroke. The findings demonstrated that high-dose purified EPA could provide substantial additional protection even in patients already receiving modern cholesterol-lowering therapy. Earlier research from Japan, including the JELIS study, also found that adding EPA to standard treatment reduced coronary events in a population that already consumed relatively large amounts of fish. This suggested that further cardiovascular benefits could be achieved even when background dietary omega-3 intake was relatively high. Not every trial has produced equally impressive results. Studies such as VITAL, ASCEND, STRENGTH, and OMEMI found smaller benefits or no statistically significant improvement in their primary outcomes. However, these trials differed considerably in important respects. Some used much lower doses of omega-3 fatty acids, while others combined EPA and DHA rather than using purified EPA alone. Participants also varied in their underlying cardiovascular risk and their baseline omega-3 status. Researchers continue to debate some aspects of these findings. Questions have been raised about the different placebo oils used in certain trials, as well as whether participants who already had adequate omega-3 levels were less likely to benefit from supplementation. Nevertheless, when the results of dozens of high-quality randomized controlled trials are combined in large meta-analyses involving tens or even hundreds of thousands of participants, the overall evidence consistently indicates that omega-3 fatty acids reduce cardiovascular mortality, lower the incidence of non-fatal heart attacks, and decrease the occurrence of coronary events. The benefits appear particularly strong in studies using higher doses of EPA. The greatest benefits are generally observed in people who have low baseline omega-3 levels, elevated triglycerides, or established cardiovascular disease. Even so, omega-3 fatty acids should not be viewed as a miracle cure or a substitute for other proven therapies. They work best as part of a comprehensive cardiovascular strategy that includes a healthy diet, regular physical activity, smoking cessation, blood pressure control, and, where appropriate, cholesterol-lowering medication. One of the most useful developments in recent years has been the introduction of the omega-3 index, a laboratory test that measures the proportion of EPA and DHA in the membranes of red blood cells. Because red blood cells live for approximately 4 months, the test provides a reliable picture of long-term omega-3 intake, much like glycated hemoglobin HbA1c reflects average blood glucose over several months. Most people living in Western countries have an omega-3 index of only about 4 to 5%. Research suggests that an index between 8 and 12% is associated with the greatest protection against cardiovascular disease and may even be linked to increased life expectancy. Individuals with an omega-3 index above 8% consistently show lower rates of both cardiovascular death and death from all causes. Improving omega-3 status begins with knowing your current level. If testing is available, measuring the omega-3 index provides an objective assessment of your long-term EPA and DHA status. Based on the result, dietary intake can be adjusted accordingly. For many adults, consuming approximately 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily is sufficient to raise the omega-3 index towards the desirable range, although individual requirements vary. The most nutritious sources include oily fish such as salmon, sardine, mackerel, and herring. For people who do not eat fish, high-quality algae-derived supplements provide both EPA and DHA without relying on marine animals. After maintaining the new intake for 3 to 4 months, repeat testing can confirm whether the desired omega-3 index has been achieved. Whole foods should always be the first choice because they provide not only omega-3 fatty acids but also high-quality protein, vitamins, minerals, and numerous other beneficial nutrients. Supplements are best regarded as a practical means of filling dietary gaps when regular consumption of oily fish is not possible. For those who rely primarily on plant sources of omega-3, reducing excessive intake of omega-6 rich vegetable oils may modestly improve the conversion of ALA into EPA and DHA, although direct dietary sources of EPA and DHA remain the most reliable means of achieving optimal tissue levels. Taken as a whole, the scientific evidence strongly suggests that inadequate omega-3 status contributes to the global burden of cardiovascular disease. Optimizing intake of EPA and DHA represents one of the safest, most thoroughly researched and evidence-based nutritional strategies for supporting long-term cardiovascular health. Although ongoing research continues to refine recommendations for personalized dosing, maintaining adequate levels of these remarkable fatty acids is already recognized as an important component of modern preventative cardiology. A comprehensive guide to omega-3 fatty acids. Part 2. Understanding the cognitive benefits of EPA and DHA. Omega-3 fatty acids are widely recognized for protecting the heart, but their importance extends far beyond the cardiovascular system. They are equally essential for the brain, where they play a central role in development, learning, memory, mood, and healthy aging. From the earliest stages of life in the womb to advanced old age, the brain depends on a continuous supply of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, and, to a lesser extent, eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA. Although both EPA and DHA belong to the omega-3 family, they perform somewhat different roles. DHA is primarily a structural nutrient. It forms part of the physical architecture of brain cells and is essential for maintaining their flexibility and function. EPA, on the other hand, is more involved in regulating inflammation and producing signaling molecules that influence mood, cognition, and overall brain health. Together, they work in harmony to maintain a healthy nervous system throughout life. The human brain is one of the fattiest organs in the body. Nearly 60% of its dry weight consists of fat, much of which is incorporated into the membranes surrounding billions of nerve cells. Among all these fats, DHA occupies a particularly important position. It accounts for approximately 1/4 of the fatty acids found in the brain and is especially concentrated in regions responsible for memory, learning, reasoning, and emotional regulation. The unique chemical structure of DHA explains why it is so valuable. It contains 6 double bonds, making it one of the most flexible fatty acids found in nature. When incorporated into the membranes of nerve cells, DHA keeps those membranes fluid rather than rigid. This flexibility allows receptors, ion channels, and other proteins embedded within the membrane to move freely and function efficiently. Healthy membrane fluidity is essential because every thought, memory, emotion, and movement depends upon rapid communication between nerve cells. Messages travel from one neuron to another by releasing chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters across tiny gaps called synapses. Flexible cell membranes allow these neurotransmitters to be released, received, and recycled with remarkable speed and precision. If cell membranes become too rigid, communication between neurons becomes less efficient. Over time, this may contribute to slower thinking, poorer memory, and increased vulnerability to age-related cognitive decline. The importance of DHA begins long before birth. During pregnancy, the developing baby's brain grows at an extraordinary rate. Millions of new neurons are produced every day, while countless new connections are formed between them. DHA is one of the major building materials required during this process. As pregnancy progresses, DHA is actively transported across the placenta from the mother to the developing fetus. During the final trimester, when the fetal brain undergoes its most rapid period of growth, the demand for DHA increases dramatically. After birth, breast milk naturally supplies DHA to continue supporting brain development during infancy. Research has consistently shown that mothers who consume adequate amounts of DHA during pregnancy tend to have children with better visual development, improved cognitive performance, and enhanced problem-solving abilities during early childhood. Although many factors influence a child's development, sufficient maternal DHA appears to provide an important nutritional foundation. Vision is also closely connected to DHA. The retina, which lines the back of the eye and converts light into electrical signals, contains some of the highest concentrations of DHA found anywhere in the human body. The light-sensitive cells, known as photoreceptors, rely on DHA-rich membranes to perform the complex chemical reactions that allow us to see. One of the most important proteins involved in vision is rhodopsin, the light-sensitive pigment responsible for night vision. Rhodopsin functions most efficiently when embedded within DHA-rich membranes. Without sufficient DHA, the retina cannot function optimally. The close relationship between the eyes and the brain explains why vision is often considered an extension of the central nervous system. In many respects, the retina is specialized brain tissue that happens to be located within the eye. As discussed in the previous chapter, the body can convert the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid alpha-linolenic acid (ALA) into DHA, but this process is highly inefficient. Only a very small proportion of dietary ALA is ultimately converted into DHA. Consequently, direct dietary sources such as oily fish or algae-derived supplements are generally the most reliable way to maintain adequate brain DHA levels. Beyond its structural role, DHA also helps preserve the integrity of nerve cells throughout life. Meanwhile, EPA contributes by regulating inflammation within the brain. Inflammation is a normal and essential part of the immune response. However, when inflammation becomes chronic, it can damage delicate brain tissue. Increasing evidence suggests that chronic low-grade neuroinflammation contributes to many neurological disorders, including Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and age-related cognitive decline. EPA and DHA help regulate this inflammatory process by giving rise to specialized pro-resolving mediators, including resolvins, protectins, and myrisins. Rather than simply suppressing inflammation, these compounds actively help bring the inflammatory response to a healthy conclusion. They encourage immune cells to remove damaged tissue, clear away cellular debris, and promote healing, thereby protecting the brain from ongoing injury. Omega-3 fatty acids also provide important protection against oxidative stress. The brain consumes approximately 1/5 of the body's oxygen despite accounting for only a small fraction of total body weight. This high metabolic activity inevitably produces reactive oxygen species, commonly known as free radicals. When free radicals accumulate faster than the body's antioxidant defenses can neutralize them, oxidative stress develops. This damages proteins, DNA, and cell membranes, gradually impairing brain function. EPA and DHA help reduce this damage both directly and indirectly by supporting antioxidant systems and reducing inflammatory processes that generate excessive free radicals. Another important function of omega-3 fatty acids is maintaining synaptic plasticity. The human brain is not a static organ. It constantly remodels itself by strengthening existing neural connections and creating entirely new ones. This remarkable ability, known as neuroplasticity, underlies learning, memory formation, and recovery from brain injury. DHA plays an essential role in preserving the flexibility of synapses, allowing nerve cells to adapt efficiently as new experiences and memories are formed. Healthy levels of DHA therefore support lifelong learning and cognitive resilience. Growing evidence also suggests that omega-3 fatty acids influence several important neurotransmitter systems. They appear to affect the production, release, and function of serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline, chemicals that regulate mood, motivation, attention, and emotional stability. This has led researchers to investigate whether omega-3 supplementation may help treat certain mental health conditions. Among the most encouraging findings concern major depressive disorder. Numerous studies suggest that EPA, particularly when used alongside conventional antidepressant medication, may reduce depressive symptoms in some individuals. Researchers believe this effect is largely related to EPA's anti-inflammatory properties, as chronic inflammation has increasingly been implicated in depression. Similar findings have emerged for anxiety disorders. Although omega-3 fatty acids should never replace evidence-based psychiatric treatment, they may provide useful additional support for some patients as part of a comprehensive management program. Higher blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids have also been associated with a lower risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviors in several observational studies. Although the exact relationship remains under investigation, these findings further highlight the importance of adequate omega-3 status for emotional well-being. Children may also benefit from sufficient omega-3 intake. Researchers found that many children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, have relatively low blood levels of EPA and DHA. Clinical trials suggest that supplementation may produce modest improvements in attention, concentration, and behavior in some children, although responses vary considerably, and omega-3 fatty acids should be regarded as complementary rather than primary treatment. One of the greatest public health challenges facing aging populations is dementia. Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia develop over many years, often beginning long before obvious symptoms appear. Large population studies have consistently found that people with higher blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids tend to have a lower risk of developing dementia. One particularly large study involving more than 200,000 adults found that individuals with the highest blood omega-3 levels had a substantially lower risk of developing early-onset dementia than those with the lowest levels. Remarkably, this protective association remained even after accounting for important genetic risk factors, including variants of the APOE gene that are known to increase susceptibility to Alzheimer's disease. Brain imaging studies provide further support for these findings. Individuals with higher DHA levels often show greater preservation of both gray matter, which contains the bodies of nerve cells, and white matter, which contains the fibers connecting different regions of the brain. Better preservation of these structures is associated with superior memory, executive function, and processing speed. Although observational studies consistently demonstrate these associations, clinical trials have produced more mixed results. Some studies have shown that omega-3 supplementation slows cognitive decline among individuals already experiencing mild memory problems, while others have found relatively modest or no measurable benefits. Several factors probably explain these differences. The stage of disease appears to be crucial. Nutritional interventions are generally more effective before extensive brain damage has occurred. The amount of EPA and DHA administered, the duration of supplementation, participants' initial omega-3 status, and their genetic background all influence the likelihood of observing measurable improvements. Scientists increasingly believe that maintaining healthy omega-3 levels throughout adult life is likely to be more effective than attempting to reverse advanced neurological disease after it has already developed. The relationship between brain health and cardiovascular health is also becoming increasingly clear. The brain depends on a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered by healthy blood vessels. Many of the same processes that damage arteries supplying the heart also damage those supplying the brain. By reducing inflammation, improving blood vessel function, and lowering cardiovascular risk, omega-3 fatty acids indirectly support healthy brain aging as well. This intimate connection explains why researchers increasingly speak of the heart-brain axis, recognizing that protecting one organ often protects the other. One practical way to assess long-term omega-3 status is the omega-3 index, which measures the proportion of EPA and DHA in red blood cell membranes. Although originally developed to assess cardiovascular risk, the index also correlates reasonably well with omega-3 levels within brain tissue. Current evidence suggests that maintaining an omega-3 index between 8 and 12% provides the greatest overall health benefits. Individuals with lower values may benefit from increasing their intake of EPA and DHA through diet or supplementation. For healthy adults, a daily intake of at least 250 to 500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA is generally considered sufficient for maintaining normal brain function. Pregnant and breastfeeding women often require considerably more DHA because of the developing baby's needs, and many experts recommend approximately 1 gram of DHA daily during this period, although individual recommendations should always be discussed with a healthcare professional. The richest dietary sources remain oily fish, such as salmon, sardine, mackerel, and herring. People following vegetarian or vegan diets can obtain DHA and EPA from algae-derived supplements, which provide the same long-chain omega-3 fatty acids without relying on fish. Because conversion from plant-derived ALA is limited, vegetarians and vegans may require somewhat higher intakes of algal DHA and EPA to achieve optimal tissue levels. After maintaining an increased intake for approximately 3 to 4 months, repeat testing of the omega-3 index can confirm whether the desired range has been reached. Omega-3 fatty acids do not work in isolation. Their benefits are amplified when combined with regular physical activity, adequate sleep, good stress management, and a Mediterranean-style dietary pattern rich in vegetables, fruit, legumes, whole grains, olive oil, nuts, and fish. These lifestyle factors work together to reduce inflammation, improve circulation, and support lifelong brain health. At the recommended doses, EPA and DHA have an excellent safety record. Side effects are generally mild, and may include occasional fishy aftertaste or mild digestive discomfort. Serious adverse effects are uncommon, making omega-3 fatty acids among the safest nutritional interventions available. Taken together, the evidence suggests that maintaining adequate levels of EPA and DHA represents one of the most practical and scientifically supported strategies for preserving brain health throughout life. From promoting healthy fetal brain development and supporting learning during childhood to maintaining memory, protecting vision, stabilizing mood, and reducing the risk of cognitive decline in later life, these remarkable fatty acids influence virtually every stage of human neurological development and aging. As research continues to advance, it is becoming increasingly clear that optimizing omega-3 status is not merely about preventing deficiency. It is about providing the brain with the nutritional foundation it needs to perform at its very best for decades to come.
The author has placed this work in the public domain. It may be freely imported, exported, shared, distributed, edited, modified, or reformatted without explicit consent from the author. As a visually impaired person, the author asserts his rights under the Marrakesh Treaty to facilitate access to published works for persons who are blind, visually impaired, or otherwise print disabled. 2013, WIPO.INT.
Early bird registration for my September 5th event is valid until July 31st for a minimum donation of 150 ringgit made before July 31st. You can attend my September 5th event. All proceeds for all your donations will be used not just for your meal for the day, but also for my various eye treatments and sponsoring some persons with disability to attend the event. From July onwards, it will be 150 ringgit until the end of July. Then in August, it will go up to 200 ringgit. Thank you.
How to attend Azlan Adnan's Meet the Author luncheon at the Hungry Tapir, 135 Petaling Street, Kuala Lumpur. Short walking distance from the Pasar Seni MRT LRT station. From 12:30 hours, Saturday, 5th September 2026.
Step 1. Download all my 30+ books on nutrition for free from Z Library using this URL. However, there is a limit of 10 downloads a day from Z Library. The workaround is to download them, and 2,250+ others, from my Optimal Health Community Telegram broadcast channel at EPUB Electronic Publishing. All my free ebooks are published in .epub electronic publishing format. If you are still living in the dark ages and only know .pdf portable document format and never heard of .epub, don't worry. You are about to have a mind-blowing experiential learning journey. If you use an Apple device, .epub files open in the Books app. If you are an Android user, use Universal Book Reader or a similar app. If you need further instructions on how to read .epub documents, just ask your favorite AI app to teach you. If you have never used an AI app before, start with Grok, Gemini, or ChatGPT. Then move on to DeepSeek, Claude, or Kling later.
Step 2. I have put all my books in the public domain, and you may share them freely. In fact, I strongly implore you to do so. Viralize them, make sure they reach every person who needs the knowledge contained in them. In Malaysia, the most recent data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey 2023 shows that 21.8% of adults are obese and 32.6% are overweight. This means the total combined rate is 54.4% of adults. Scary huge percentages of Malaysians are diabetic or suffer from other non-communicable diseases, NCDs. To be specific, in Malaysia, about 15.5% of adults have chronic kidney disease, CKD, up from 9.1% in 2011. Around 21.4% of adults aged 30 and above are at high risk of cardiovascular disease, CVD. Among older adults, about 8.5% have dementia, equating to roughly 260,000 people as of 2022. A nation is only as strong as its human capital. How strong can a nation be if more than half its population is fat, sick, and nearly dead? Of what good can you be to your family if you are fat, sick, and nearly dead? You owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Step 3. Read the books, follow whatever advice that makes sense to you. If something doesn't make sense to you, or causes cognitive dissonance, you can ask me clarifying questions on the 5th of September. Also, be prepared to report on the 5th of September what improvements in your health you have noticed. So far, one person has seen her total cholesterol level drop from always above 5 to 4.6. Another has resolved a chronic constipation issue. I have written 2 books on human stool classification and stool analysis. Another person who wakes up every morning with a white layer of mucus on her tongue for more than half her life now wakes up with a clear tongue. Step 4. Make the minimum donation by the required dates. The longer you prevaricate, the higher the minimum donation gets. Minimum donation per pax: 100 ringgit for donations received by June 30th, 150 ringgit for donations received by July 31st, 200 ringgit for donations received by August 31st, 500 ringgit for donations received by the 5th of September and for walk-ins. Places are limited. However, I do not wish to deprive anyone. If enough people register, we can take over the whole restaurant, so make your donations early to reserve your place. Purpose: your donations will go towards sponsoring persons with disability, PWD, to attend the event and also towards my various ongoing eye treatments. Sponsorship: if you run a business and wish to promote your business, you can sponsor door gifts, gift vouchers, or even cash.
A writer and researcher in nutrition science, Azlan has authored dozens of books on plant-based bioactives, antioxidants, and the chemistry of whole foods. In this session, he will lead a dynamic Ask Me Anything on nutrition session. All 30 of his nutrition books are in the public domain and are downloadable at the link below. Attendees attendees must read these books in advance and come prepared with their questions. This is a singular chance to engage with one of today's leading independent nutrition thinkers. Don't miss it. A healthy, whole food, plant-based lunch with the menu curated by Azlan Adnan will be served. No need to write your name in the reference of the bank transfer, as it will automatically be displayed, but include your phone number in case we need to contact you for any last-minute changes.
We will also celebrate Aslan's 68th birthday.
Some of you have been wondering why a YouTube channel devoted to green political philosophy and ideology would address health issues. The stark facts are these. Data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey in Malaysia 2023 shows that 54.4% of adults are either overweight or obese, with 32.6% classified as overweight and 21.8% as obese. Abdominal obesity, per Roy, was also reported at 54.5%. Compared to 2011, the combined prevalence of overweight and obesity has increased from 44.5% to 54.4%. According to the same survey, 15.6% of adults in Malaysia have been diagnosed with diabetes, kencing manis. Additionally, about 21.4% of Malaysian adults aged 30 and above have a high 10-year calculated risk of developing cardiovascular disease, CVD, sakit jantung. In Malaysia, precise prevalence data for diagnosed CVD is somewhat limited. Data from 2010 to 2021 indicated that 16.6% of all registered deaths were due to CVD. A 2015 survey found that 14.1% of working-age adults had diabetes, 24.5% had hypertension, and 45.9% had high cholesterol. The World Heart Federation also noted in 2022 that around 11% of deaths in Malaysia are linked to CVD. In 2011, the prevalence of chronic kidney disease, CKD, sakit buah pinggang, was 9.07%. A nationwide study in Malaysia in 2018 estimated that 15.48% of adults, over 5 million people, have CKD. It really is alarming. These numbers are striking, especially when you consider how rapidly they have grown over just a decade. It is a massive public health challenge. In light of these statistics, the implications for nation building and capacity building are stark. What value does a nation have if more than half its population are fat, sick, and nearly dead?
Are you fat, sick, and nearly dead? Well, if you think you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start with this book. And then as you progress, you can, go deeper, take a deep dive into the other books. And if you want to meet me to discuss what you've read in the books, you have a chance in September to do so. However, there are 5 places already been taken up, and there are limited seats, so the sooner you register, the sooner you'll reserve a place for yourself. Attendance is by donation, so details are in the video.
Important note on event registration fees. Early bird. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of July 2026. Minimum donation of 150 ringgits. Normal registration. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of August 2026. Minimum donation of 200 ringgits. Late registration. Donation received between 1st to 5th September 2026. Minimum donation of 500 ringgits. All proceeds after deducting third-party costs will go towards Azlan Adnan's various ongoing eye treatments to hopefully reverse or at least arrest his macular degeneration, cataracts, photophobia, mydriasis, dry eyes, and etc. This is mission critical as, if his vision fails, he'll no longer be able to produce, edit, or upload videos. Your voluntary contributions and donations are a critical success factor. As such, your generosity, empathy, compassion, and kindness are well and truly appreciated. We thank you in advance for your invaluable help and assistance in making this event a resounding success.
the author. Azlan Adnan, M.A., is a writer and independent researcher whose work focuses on nutrition science, food systems, and the biological foundations of human health. His writing examines how natural foods contain complex compounds that interact with human physiology in ways that may support long-term well-being. He has a particular interest in plant-based bioactive compounds such as polyphenols, carotenoids, flavonoids, and other phytochemicals found in fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, algae, and fungi. His research explores how these compounds function in plants and how they may influence human nutrition when consumed as part of a balanced diet. Azlan approaches nutrition from a multidisciplinary perspective, drawing on biochemistry, plant biology, and public health nutrition. His work aims to translate complex scientific concepts into clear explanations so that readers can better understand the nutritional value of everyday foods. He is the author of several books examining natural sources of antioxidants and other dietary compounds. Author of the Antioxidant series, Antioxidants in Herbs and Spices, Antioxidants in Algae, Microalgae, and Fungi, Antioxidants in Fruits and Vegetables, Antioxidants in Nuts and Seeds, Antioxidants in Berries. Author of the Nutrient series, Macronutrients, Volume 1, Carbohydrates, Macronutrients, Volume 2, Lipids, Macronutrients, Volume 3, Proteins, Micronutrients, Vitamins, Trace Elements, and Minerals, Anti-nutrients, the hidden blockers in your food, Phytonutrients, the quiet power of plants, Water, the forgotten fourth, a macronutrient you can't ignore, other books on health and nutrition, Tuber's briefing paper, 2nd edition, Aslan's 5-Powder Manifesto, Eating the Greek Way, How Cultural Habits Support Health Without Trying, Ideology on a Plate, How Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Turned U.S. Dietary Guidelines into a Scientific Farce, Maslow in 2026, A Practical Guide to Actual Needs, Not Scrollable Wishes. These works form part of an ongoing series exploring the chemistry, biological roles, and nutritional significance of bioactive compounds in plant foods. Through his writing, Azlan advocates a practical food-first approach to nutrition. His work emphasizes whole foods, dietary diversity, and balanced eating patterns, rather than reliance on isolated nutrients or supplements. He holds a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster in London, and writes extensively on nutrition science, health, and food-based approaches to long-term well-being. Azlan Adnan, the quiet revolutionary of real food writing. Azlan Adnan, M.A., is a Malaysian polymath who spent decades turning food into philosophy. Raw, unfiltered, no hype. You won't find him pushing superfoods or miracle diets. He dissects what actually works. Whole plants, spices, microbes, and the quiet chemistry that keeps bodies humming. With over 30 books, self-published, shared freely on Z-Library, Facebook groups, Telegram channels, Aslan's output is prolific. Part manifesto, part manual. Early works like Spring Has Sprung, a psychological thriller, and travelogues On the Road to the East Coast reveal his roots in journalism, advertising, and storytelling. But nutrition became his mission. Educated with a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster, London, he taught at the School of Management, Royal Holloway, London, while pursuing doctoral research in business strategy and environmental management, specializing in the international timber trade. That academic backbone, rigor, systems thinking, sustainability, bleeds into his food writing. No fluff, just evidence. The core series, the Macronutrients Trilogy, Volume 1 on carbohydrates, glucose, fiber, metabolism, Volume 2 on lipids, fats, omega-3s, inflammation, Volume 3 on proteins, repair, enzymes, muscle. Then micronutrients, water, and anti-nutrients, the plant world's double-edged sword. Anti-nutrients are naturally occurring compounds in whole foods, phytates, oxalates, lectins, goitrogens, that can bind minerals, block enzymes, or mess with absorption. They evolved as plant defenses, but in us, they steal iron from spinach, calcium from kale, or spike gut irritation from raw beans. Variety wins. 30 plants a week, not monodiets. Raw's romantic, but cooked smarter. Add spice blends like Aslan's 5-Powder Manifesto, turmeric mixes for real anti-inflammation, and you've got a library that says, eat wide, not weird. Why release it all into the public domain? Because knowledge isn't currency. It's oxygen. Azlan watched corporations gatekeep health, paywalls on papers, patented supplements, proprietary blends that hide what works. He refuses. His books aren't for sale, they're for spread. No DRM, no ads, no ego. Just files anyone can download, print, share. He says it plain. If one person in a kampong swaps white rice for brown or steams kailan instead of boiling it, that's the win, not royalties. He's no gatekeeper. His Facebook, Azlan Green Party, Instagram, and YouTube drop bite-sized truths. Traffic light WFPB guides, eye health talks on looting, vegan journeys. He credits tradition, curries, forest mushrooms, seaweed from tides, and lives it. Unpeeled carrots, home ferments, no moralizing. 30-plus titles aren't about volume, they're depth. Carbs to phytonutrients, water to gut bugs. Azlan doesn't sell health, he hands you the tools. Read him and your plate changes. Not because you're broken, because you're built for better.
Subscribe button to show your support. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to show your support.